Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am here with my Pan Those Eyeshadows update. I am very excited to share this project with you. It's still one of my absolute favorite projects because I mean it's been around for a long time now, but I absolutely love it still. It was of course created by Alexi. She made this project years ago where the goal is to hit pan on your shadows, as the name suggests. You can also sometimes have a usage goal, things like that, and I do this year have a usage goal in place. So ultimately my goal is of course to hit pan on the shadows, but I do also have a usage kind of threshold where I feel like if I've been working on a shadow for too long, or I feel like I've given it a lot of effort but it's not really moving anywhere, I can roll the shadow out after 20 uses. So that is my main rules, very simple, and on top of that I do work on 4 shades. Those 4 shades are kind of hand-picked by me using some prompts, and the prompts were made by Makeup with Laney. She created prompts this again a couple of years ago, and that's what I'm using to roll my shadows. So I'm going to jump into my update. I am working on these 4 shades right here. This is my color story for the month of January, but yeah, I'm excited to share with you where those shadows are standing today. But before I jump into the update, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. So like I said, I am working on these 4 shades. So this is my color story. It's like kind of blue leaning, blue and yellow leaning. We have 2 more bluish leaning shades. This is a neutral with a blue and purple shift, or blue and pink shift, a blue matte, a yellow matte, and then a pink shimmer with a blue and pink shift. So kind of ties everything together, but I've been loving this color story and I've been using it loads. But yeah, I'm just talking through them in order. So the first shadow, which is the top one right here, I rolled in for the prompt a shadow you want to pan, and that comes from my Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette in the shade Blissful, which looks like this when I first rolled it in. It is a beautiful, beautiful shadow. It is probably my favorite shade in the palette, and like I showed you, it has like a brown base with a blue to pink, pinky purple shift to it, and I am happy to say that this palette looks like this today. So you might be able to see a little pan in there. I used the shadow 9 times in the first month it was in the project, and I was able to hit pan after that 9th use. So yeah, I'm very excited. This is the palette right here. I will have the comparison pictures up here, but that is the shade, and as you can see, I was able to hit pan. It is now my 3rd pan in the palette. I pan on Quartz. What is that called? Love something, right? No, Joy. Shade Joy, and now Blissful. So 3 pans in the palette, and I'm very excited. This here is my favorite shade, so I'm excited to have pan on that. And it was honestly such a joy to use. I used it on the daily, going to the office, as like my easy kind of to reach for shadow, because it was so neutral and you're still very sparkly and very beautiful, and with a little bit of a shift in it. So it's been beautiful, beautiful, beautiful to reach for, and I'm very happy that I rolled this one in. Of course, I could kind of pick whatever I wanted for this prompt because it is something that you want to pan, and this is definitely something that I wanted to pan. So that is the first shadow, and luckily we do have a rollout. The rest of the shadows in my current rotations are all singles. I have them right here. It's these 3 right there, and I'm going to talk you through them in order. The first one is that blue shade, which I rolled in for blue shadow matte. So of course I went for blue matte shade, and the shade I went for is the shade Perfect Storm from Sydney Grace. It's this shade right here, which is a kind of, I would say, like a muted out true cornflower blue. That's how I would describe it. It's a super pretty shade since it has like a little bit of a muted out undertone, like almost like a grayed out undertone, and it does work really nicely with neutral looks but also in blue looks. So I've been absolutely loving this shade. It's probably one of my favorite blues in my collection, and I have used this one 5 times, and this is what it looks like today. So of course no pan yet. I'm still quite far away from pan, but I do have a little bit of a dip showing in the shadow, which is exciting to see. So yes, in this palette right here we have the shadow. You can see right there again that little dip that I'm talking about. It's definitely visible, and that is after 5 uses. So since it's Sydney Grace, the mattes are usually quite hard pressed from them. They're quite notorious to be hard to hit pan on, so I'm not really sure if I will be able to pan on this one and within the 20 uses or not. But either way, I'm excited to keep working on it, and it is a shadow that I'm trying to get more use out of, you know, every single month, because It is a bit of a harder shade, but I have been enjoying this one, and I'm trying to again get used to it now in January, February, when it's still winter and cold, because I'm going for these more cool tone looks. Of course, today I'm not. Happy Valentine's, by the way, or Galentine's, or whatever you're celebrating today. It is the 14th of February, and I'm posting this one today, so I decided to go and do a bit of a Valentine's style makeup. I'm wearing my heart earrings from Ana Luisa. I don't know if you can tell. I do have a red lip and a pink eye, and I love it. I love this look. But generally I've been going for more cool tone looks, and this one has been a gem to reach for, so I'm happy with the 5 uses, and I'm hoping to continue reach for it. Maybe try to up the usage a little bit so that I can have like my 20 usage reached by month 3 if I don't hit pan on it before then. So moving on to the third shadow, we have this neon yellow matte right here, and this one comes from Terra Moons. Again, it is a single, and it is the shade Land on the Stars, and that was rolled in for a shadow starting with L, and this is what it looks like when I first rolled it in. It is a beautiful shadow. It is again a neon yellow, so it's very bright, and it's been so fun to reach for. I've been reaching for this one a lot in the indie corner, things like that. And also to note that this shadow is a little bit thinner, because I did have this one break on me, so I had to repress it, but I lost some shadow, so I'm thinking this one is going to be easier to pan on. However, this is what it looks like today, so no pan yet, but there is a little bit of a dip there in the center. You can maybe see that I have been using it as that in the corner shade because it is more of a distinct dip, but I have reached for it 4 times so far, so not too much, which is probably why I'm not close to pan quite yet. So again, we have it in this palette right here, and that is that yellow shade. So hopefully you can see that dip showing. I can actually show that blue shade because I've already talked about that one. It will make it easier, but yeah, it's a little bit of a dip in that shadow, but I've been loving it. I've been again mainly using it as an inner corner shade. I think I used it on my crease like once, and the rest of the times I used this pop of yellow in the inner corner, and it's so beautiful. I've been loving it. You can go with neutral looks, you can go with like pink looks. That's what I've been using mostly. I think it can go with like a blue look with that other shade. So it's been super fun to reach for. I do think this is one that I might be able to hit pan on in the next month if I focus in on it, especially because that pan and like the shadow in the pan is a bit thinner. I don't know if you can see from the side there that it's missing some shadow, but because of that I think it would be quite easy to hit pan on. So we'll see where it stands next month, but for now I'm happy with the 4 usage. It's not amazing, but it is good, I guess, for the first month when I'm still kind of getting my bearing of panning eyeshadows for the year. And then the final shadow that we have in this project at the moment is that bottom shade, which does look kind of more purpley blue, I think, straight on the camera, but if I twist my hand, I think maybe you can see the yellow shift right there, or like the yellow base. It's more of a yellow base and then like again a blue to pinky purple shift running through it, and that is also from Terra Moons. I rolled this one in for a yellow shimmer, and again it does have of course some other shifts to it, but it is yellow. In the pan itself it looks very yellow, as you can see right here. This is the shade Lightspeed, by the way, if I haven't said that already. And it's again a beautiful shadow. So I've been trying to reach for this one a couple of times in the past month too, and this is what it looks like today. So definitely a dip going, but no pan yet. But similar to the other Terra Moon shadow that I reached for, I only managed to get to this one 4 times, which is probably why it doesn't have pan quite yet. So yes, now we have the little quad shown, well, there's 3 shadows, but you can see that the dip is quite significant in the shadow. I'm not gonna lie, this one has been a little bit harder to incorporate in the past month, just because I feel like I'm panning a lot of like pinkies and like cool tones, like I said, and this one is very bright yellow. I think if I was doing warm tone looks, this one would have been so easy to incorporate, but because I'm doing more cool tone looks, it's not been as easy. But I noticed that if I layer this on top of a cool tone pink that I'm panning, it's in my Pan That palette in order, if you know you know, but layering that on top of it becomes like this kind of peachy based shadow with like this cool tone shift on it, which works better for cool tone looks. So I did that, I think it was like 2 days ago or yesterday or something like that, and I really like that, and I think that's what I'm going to continue doing with the shadow to help incorporate into cooler toned looks, because I feel like it does work with cooler tone looks, especially with that kind of cool tone shift running through it. But looking at it in the pan, because it does look so kind of yellow, you can see it right there what it looks like, it is harder to kind of get that mindset in. So that's the main thing with that shadow, but I do think I could definitely pan on that shadow because of the dip now, and also if I just focus on it, I don't think that's going to be an issue. So that is definitely one that I'm going to focus on for next month and hopefully be able to get some good use. So those were all of the shadows, and again we have one rollout, which is the top one. I'm happy with that. Of course, we've only worked on these shadows for 1 month, and that's fine by me. So one rollout, 3 remaining, and we're gonna go ahead and pick a prompt for that new shadow rolling in. So let me pull up my Tiny Decisions app. So we have my wheel right here, and I'm gonna go ahead and roll, and we'll see what prompt I get. Any matte shadow. Okay, so we're gonna have 3 mattes, 1 shimmer. That's gonna be a bit more difficult. Also, I don't really know what I want to roll in. I'm gonna have to have a think, look through my collection, and decide what I want to work on. But let me do that, and I will be back as soon as I have a new shadow. Okay, so I'm back and I have chosen my shadow, and maybe it's because I'm inspired by Valentine's Day, which again is the day I'm filming, but I decided to go with a shadow from my Love palette from Natasha. This is my least favorite Natasha palette. It's also a palette that ranks quite low in my collection, so I do want to get some more use out of it. The palette looks like this on the inside, by the way, so there's quite a few matte shades that I could pick. I have 1 pan in here already. I don't know if you got a sneak peek in my hand there, but I'll try not to show you. But out of these shades, I was debating maybe that first shade in the palette called First, which is that shade. I was also looking at like these shades at the bottom. There's 3 mattes right here that I was looking at, and I actually decided to go with one of those. And the shadow I decided to go with is that lightest pink called Valentine, and that is the swatch of it right there, so you can see the shade. But I'm going to start now the footage of what the shadow looks like. It doesn't really have a dip or anything, but I think this one is going to be a really pretty shade. It can be just a crease shade on its own, and I love these kind of warmer tone pinks, and again it will work with some other shades that I'm panning, which is why I'm introducing it. I might regret this choice. I might be shooting myself in the foot because Natasha is quite hard to pan on, and this is not one of her cream to powder mattes, it's her regular mattes, so I might have to use this one quite a lot. But I'm inspired by this, and I feel like it's a good like February shade, like a pink shade, but also can go into spring really well. So that is the shadow that I'm rolling in, and again that is my starting point, so I'm excited to get some use out of that palette. And the color story, by the way, that is my old color story, kind of blue yellow, and then if I remove that top shade we have my new color story, which is definitely very like winter into Easter, which is definitely something I'm excited for. Of course, Easter is until April, like end of April, so we have more than 2 months left until then, but I'm excited for these kind of more spring toned shades coming up, so I think that's going to be a good choice. But that is going to be my update for Pan Those Eyeshadows today. Let me know in the comments what you think of this new shade. Do you think I picked something like good, or should I go for something else? I was thinking about maybe something neutral, but that's also boring, and I'm panning a lot of neutral shades in my Panda palette, the Soft Glam palette, so I decided to go for something colorful. But yeah, I hope you guys are having an amazing day wherever you are, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys!